They uncovered shocking truths about Jesus that Islam completely overlooks. Few knew what truly happened that night in the bustling town of Nazareth. The air was thick with tension. Shadows danced under the flickering torches. A moment hung heavy, pregnant with mystery and revelation. Jesus, a child of humble beginnings, stood under the watchful gaze of an ancient olive tree. Its twisted branches whispered secrets of the past. The town was alive with skepticism, with murmurs swirling in the streets. Could he really be the Messiah? Echoed in hushed tones among the villagers. Historians had long debated the importance of this pivotal moment in history. Over 2,000 years ago, under the star-clad skies of Bethlehem, Jesus was born into a world longing for a savior. But what most people failed to grasp were the miracles that weren't just wonders of sight, but of destiny. Around him, the desert winds howled, carrying tales of his mother, Mary. A young woman who bore a child, defying the rules of society. It was said she was visited by an angel, but what really unfolded in that sacred moment? The collective doubt of the townsfolk created waves, each ripple tinged with curiosity and fear. As Jesus aged, he defied norms. At 12, he was found teaching in the temple, captivating scholars with a wisdom that belied his years. Yet, was it wisdom, or something far more profound? His teachings hinted at truths that shook foundations. The stories of fish and loaves fed multitudes, yet how? The very essence of faith met bewilderment as miracles danced just out of reach of human understanding, and then, there were the whispers of dissent. "He's just a carpenter's son," echoed from lips quivering with uncertainty. Did he feel their judgment? Did he carry the weight of their expectations on his young shoulders? The tension was palpable, it hung like a storm cloud, ready to burst. Footsteps echoed through the narrow streets. Observers, wide-eyed and trembling, hovered on the edges, hearts racing in anticipation. What lay ahead? Did Jesus know the magnitude of his mission? Or was he merely a boy, caught in a divine testing ground? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, a question lingered. Was there a deeper truth that intertwined these miracles with an impending fate? Were they signs that he would reshape the world as they knew it? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the heart of Nazareth, the olive tree stood timeless, a silent witness to the unfolding drama that could change the course of humanity. As the moon cast its pale light, illuminating the dusty streets, Jesus sat among a few young friends, their eyes bright with innocence and hope. They spoke in hushed tones, sharing dreams of adventure beyond the hills and valleys, unaware of the mantle that rested on their friends' shoulders, yet, as laughter erupted, it was momentarily overshadowed by an unsettling presence that lingered in the corners of their minds. The rumors of the townsfolk began to encroach on their youthful reverie. Is he truly special? What does it mean for us if he is? Such questions grew like wild vines around their thoughts, threatening to entangle their joy. Meanwhile, Mary, ever sensitive to the stirrings of the hearts around her, sensed a change in the atmosphere. The weight of expectation pressed upon her. Should she pull her son closer to shield him from the doubts of the world or allow him to grow into the destiny that awaited him? Her heart pulsed with a myriad of emotions: love, fear, pride, and the ever-persistent question of purpose. She recalled the angel's message with clarity and reverence: he will be great, and will be called the Son of the Most High. But how could she prepare him for a greatness steeped in suffering? As the night wore on, the boys ventured further into discussion, now contemplating prophecies spun from the threads of ancient texts, the promise of a savior that had been long awaited. They exchanged verses, the allure of the bold proclamation igniting within them a sense of destiny. Jesus, listening intently, felt a stirring deep within, a calling not easily articulated or perceived, yet undeniably present. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the distance, silhouetted against the moonlight. It was an elder from the synagogue, revered yet not without his own reservations. As he approached, the young boys fell silent, an unspoken acknowledgment of the authority he carried. He scrutinized Jesus with eyes that seemed to pierce his very soul, a blend of wonder and concern etched deeply in his brow. "Young Jesus," the elder spoke, his voice adorned with gravity, "the scrolls foretell of one who will lead our people. They say he will perform miracles, heal the sick, and bring forth the truth. But you must understand, the world will challenge you. It will question your very existence and seek to undermine your purpose. Are you ready for such a path?" Jesus looked up, met the elder's gaze with unwavering certainty, though within him churned a tempest of emotion. "How can one prepare for what is not yet seen?" he replied, his voice steady yet gentle. "My heart feels the call, I sense it in the air, in the whispers of the trees. Yet the journey remains a mystery, wrapped in shadows." The elder nodded slowly, words lingering in the air like incense, heavy yet sacred. "Faith is a bridge to that which lies beyond understanding. You must nurture it, for it may be your greatest tool and your finest weapon." Jesus pondered the elder's words, realizing that faith, indeed, was not a mere absence of doubt but a relationship with the divine, ongoing dance of trust amid uncertainty. As the night deepened, the darkness wrapped around them like a comforting cloak. The mysteries of his impending fate trailed behind him, shrouded in the mist of unanswerable questions. What awaited him in the days to come? As he looked at his friends, at the village that cradled him, a thought flickered in his mind: would his feet tread the path of deliverance, even when such a path led through sorrow? The air thickened with the weight of his thoughts, and within that silence, a single query hung, unaddressed yet looming large: was his destiny not merely to reflect the light of the divine, but also to embrace the shadows that came with it? Under the cover of night, the village of Nazareth lay placid, yet within the hearts of its inhabitants, ripples of uncertainty stirred. As dawn approached, Mary rose early, compelled by an unseen urgency. The fragrance of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, yet her thoughts were consumed by reflections of her son and the great purpose that loomed before him. She traced her fingers over sacred texts, reading the prophecies anew, searching for solace amidst the growing turmoil in her heart. Once more, she recalled the day the angel had visited her, the shimmering presence that spoke of a child destined to change the world. What did it mean for her, a simple woman of Nazareth? She, too, felt the weight of the world upon her shoulders, struggling against doubt that intermingled with her devotion. Each promise in the scrolls, every verse whispered through the ages, danced like flames in her mind, igniting her soul with both hope and unrest. Determined, Mary walked towards the olive tree that stood as a silent sentinel over the village. Its gnarled branches stretched skyward, and she found comfort in its enduring presence. Should she seek counsel from the elders of the synagogue, or would that only sow seeds of skepticism? The very thought made her heart quicken. As she approached the tree, she noticed others gathering: fishermen, merchants, and mothers with children salting the air with laughter. Then she saw him, her son, seated under the tree, a circle of boys now engaged in spirited debate. His words poured forth with wisdom beyond his years, drawing the attention of the adults who eked out their morning amongst the sacred groves. Jesus spoke not only of the law but also of love: how a good tree bears good fruit, how one must act with kindness and humility, and how their faith should fuel their actions. Yet amid the admiration, shadows crept at the edges. The elders exchanged glances, their brows knitted in concern. Who was this boy, stirring echoes of ancient voices? With every proclamation, he drew closer to the edge of their understanding, defying their expectations of ordinary life. The whispers among the gathering grew, wonder mixed with unease, all wondering what was to unfold. Later, as the sun crowned the horizon, Mary approached her son, curiosity twinkling in her eyes. "Jesus, what do you feel as you speak these words to our people? Do you not sense the weight of what you are becoming?" He paused, considering the gravity of her question. "Mother, I speak only what flows through me. There's a current of understanding that wells up within. Each word embeds itself in the hearts of those who hear. I must share it, for it echoes truths they yearn to grasp, even when they do not know it. Mary reflected on his response, her heart a tumultuous sea of pride and trepidation. But my child, the world can be harsh, and they may not embrace the light you offer. They could fear what they do not understand. Jesus met her gaze, his eyes alight with a resolute spirit. Fear can be a prison, yet love offers liberation. I do not seek to take away certainty, I aim to reveal deeper truths, even if it means standing alone. But the question remains, what is love if not willing to bear the burden of misunderstanding? The morning light illuminated their silhouettes, casting long shadows on the ground where they stood. The intertwining of mother and son, anchored in the echoes of eternity, beckoned another thought. The gathering around them grew, murmurs of concern morphed into silent hopes and wishes for a brighter future, yet an unresolved tension lingered. As Jesus glanced toward the horizon, a flicker of doubt glanced momentarily across his countenance, lost in the vastness of it all. Would the revelations of his heart lead to peace, or would they ignite further conflict among those he was destined to uplift? The question lay heavy in the air, a reminder that the journey had only begun. How could one navigate the delicate balance between revelation and rejection, nurturing the light while walking through shadows? As the sun ascended higher in the sky, casting golden rays that kissed the earth and awakened the day, the village began to hum with life. The laughter of children mixed with the clamor of merchants shouting their wares, creating a symphony of ordinary existence. Yet, amidst this daily rhythm, the profound conversation between Mary and Jesus lingered in Mary's heart, a flame of apprehension that refused to be extinguished. Days passed, marked by the interactions during the market and the subtle exchanges in the synagogue, but each moment seemed burdened with the weight of unasked questions. Jesus continued to teach, drawing more people each time, his voice serene yet powerful, resonating through the hills and valleys. His parables ignited thoughts and transformed hearts, yet for every breakthrough, there emerged shadows of doubt among the elders, an unsettling mixture of admiration and fear. It was on the seventh day since Mary had questioned her son that a crowd gathered by the village well, the sun warming their backs as they listened intently to Jesus. Consider how the lilies grow, they do not toil or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these, he proclaimed, his hands gesturing gracefully to the blooming flora around them. The beauty of nature interlinked with his words stirred a deep yearning for truth that resonated within each listener. Yet, just as the murmurs of understanding filled the air, the voice of a familiar elder cut through the atmosphere with a tone both authoritative and weary. "Young man," he commanded, stepping forward, "you teach with wisdom yet speak with a strange conviction. What do you truly claim to be, an interpreter of the law or a herald of something far more profound?" The crowd fell silent as tension thickened the air. Jesus, unfazed, responded with clarity, "I do not come to abolish the law but to fulfill it. Within these parables lies the essence of our faith: compassion, mercy, and love. My words reflect a greater calling than mere adherence to tradition. What good is the law if we miss its spirit?" The elder's brow furrowed deeper as whispers pierced the gathering, growing louder in their uncertainty. But the prophets did not speak of defying tradition. What you propose bears the weight of consequence. Such claims sow discord within our community. Mary, who had been observing from a distance, felt her heart twist in response to the firm yet gentle manner of her son. The spark of anxiety within her intensified, her instinct pushed her to intervene. As she approached, she saw both challenge and fervent advocacy dancing in Jesus' steady gaze. "What you speak resonates, my son," she began, "yet their hearts are tethered to the familiar. This path you tread is fraught with peril." He nodded, sensing her urgency, yet he retained the understanding that propelled him forward. "Mother, I know that the journey we embark on will not be without peril or misunderstanding. But as light seeks to pierce the darkness, so too must I illuminate these truths. They may appear volatile, but it is in the struggle that clarity and unity find their space." Before she could offer her thoughts, a voice from the crowd shouted, "What authority do you have to teach us? Are you not just a carpenter's son?" The sting of that challenge echoed through Mary, where thoughts of doubt crept into her heart once more. Her son witnessed the rising storm, the tension coiling tightly like a spring. Yet, in that moment, he exuded strength, speaking calmly to the crowd. Authority does not come from one's lineage but from the depths of one's connection to the divine. Each of you holds that connection, each of you can find the truth within. The words cascaded through the crowd, stirring responses of contemplation and confusion. As they absorbed the implications of his message, Mary grappled with a profound question: would their understanding evolve, or would the fear of the unknown drive them further apart? The stakes increased, pressing deeply within her spirit. Could love be powerful enough to bridge these growing chasms threatening to divide them? As the sun dipped lower, its light casting long shadows, Mary contemplated not only the weight of her own thoughts but the uncertainty of the path that lay ahead. For a moment, all that could be heard was the collective breath of the gathered people, the silence a prelude to decisions yet unmade. Would they embrace the transformation he offered, or would they retreat into fear and confusion, drawing distinct lines in the sand that could lead only to division? As she gazed at her son, who stood unwavering amidst an impending storm, a new question emerged, one that hung in the air like the last light of day: how far would one go to defend love when love itself seemed a threat to the established order? The air thick with tension and curiosity, the crowd lingered at the well, caught in a web of emotions that mirrored the swirling sands. Mary felt the weight of their eyes, a tapestry of hope intertwined with skepticism, and her heart ached for understanding. As she glanced at Jesus, there was a mix of admiration and deep concern painted across her features. Would they see the truth wrapped within his words, or would they silence him in their fear? Jesus continued, undaunted by the flickering doubt reflected in the faces surrounding him. Do you not see? The kingdom of God is among you. It is not a place, nor a distant promise, rather, it lives in the compassion you show to one another. With each phrase, he pointed to the soil beneath their feet, to the well that quenched their thirst, and to the heavens above that poured out such abundant light. Among the onlookers, a woman stepped forward, her brow damp with both perspiration and contemplative strain. But how do we know your message comes from the Almighty? She questioned, her voice trembling yet courageous. We have devoted our lives to the scriptures, to the ancient ways. What makes your message different? Ah, but is it different? Jesus replied, his expression gentle yet firm. What I bring does not dismiss the scriptures but fulfills their deepest call to love, to serve, and to pursue righteousness with an open heart. The spirit behind the law calls for mercy and understanding. Mary watched as faces transformed, lines of doubt softened as if they were clay being molded by a skilled potter. Yet, she felt an undercurrent of resistance ripple through the crowd. Some were captivated, while others clung tightly to tradition, like ships refusing to sail into the vast unknown. The elder who had spoken earlier moved closer again, his voice now less sharp but still laced with apprehension. Your words echo wisdom, yet wisdom can be misinterpreted. Tell us truly, what signs will you show us to authenticate your claims? Acceptance rested heavily on the elder's shoulders, as if the hands of the entire community pressed upon him to demand proof. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped the space. Jesus regarded the elder with a gaze that seemed to pierce through the fabric of doubt. The true sign stands before you: the transformation of the heart. When love emerges where there was hatred, when forgiveness flows where resentment once built walls, you shall witness the miraculous. Do you not see that such change is the greatest sign of the divine? The crowd shifted, some murmuring amongst themselves, while Mary sensed the gravity of this moment. There it was again, the tender invitation woven into Jesus' challenge. A call to look beyond the surface, to embrace the vulnerability that true faith demands. Yet, as the sun dipped lower in the sky, shadows crept more deeply into their hearts. Would they recognize the miracle within themselves, or would skepticism cast a veil too thick to penetrate? A high-pitched laugh suddenly erupted from a child playing at the edge of the crowd, a brief flash of joy against the anticipating darkness. It was a reminder that even amidst turmoil, laughter and light have the power to break through. Mary found herself torn, wrestling with a myriad of questions. Could they truly see the light glimmering around Jesus, or would they shut their eyes to the possibilities of redemption? What of their fears? She whispered under her breath, "Will love be enough to open the eyes long blinded by tradition?" And as twilight descended with its cloak of deepening stars, Mary's heart beat in tandem with an undercurrent of hope mingled with fear. Would the unfolding drama invite them into a new understanding, or would it lead to a division that would linger throughout generations? In that moment of reflection, a haunting question beckoned forth: how often do we cling to the familiar, even when the path to love lies just beyond our reach? As the whispers of uncertainty rippled through the crowd, Mary found solace in the gentle babbling of the well, a refuge amidst the turmoil. The sun sank lower, casting long shadows that danced in the fading light, while hearts hesitated on the brink of transformation. Suddenly, a man from the outskirts of the crowd, one whom Mary recognized as a keeper of the law, took a bold step forward. His voice resonated with a mix of fervor and fear. "If we are to embrace this new message, what of our covenant with the Almighty? Can love alone suffice where the law has dictated our lives?" Jesus turned to him, his features softened by divine understanding. The law was given as a guide, a pathway to walk amid the wilderness of existence. Yet love is the essence of that law, the very heartbeat of creation. Without love, speaks the law in vain. Know this: when the heart beats in rhythm with compassion, the law itself finds its true purpose. The crowd fell silent once more, grappling with the truth that wrapped around them like a warm embrace. The man's brow furrowed, wrestling with the implications of such a bold declaration. Then how shall we live? What does love demand from us in this broken world? Jesus stepped closer, the intensity of his gaze unwavering. To love is to risk, to open oneself to the pain of the world. It means embracing the stranger, feeding the hungry, and healing the broken. It calls you not only to action but to reflection, allowing the divine will to flow through you, placing the needs of others before your own. A ripple of recognition flickered through the onlookers. Each person contemplated the profound mystery intertwined with Jesus's words. Could they rise above the confines of their understanding? Could they truly commit to a path that demanded not just belief but deep, vulnerable engagement with the world? Yet among the melancholy murmurings and flickering glimmers of hope, a voice emerged from the fringes of the crowd, sharp and accusatory. "And what of our traditions? Will you become another voice to lead us astray under the guise of your misinterpretations?" A young man, clearly emboldened by the uncertainty, raised an eyebrow and folded his arms, a familiar stance of resistance echoing in the hearts of many. Jesus, undeterred, turned towards the young man. "Tradition has its place, but it is not sacred if it blinds you to the need for evolution and growth. The Almighty calls you into a living dialogue, not a stagnant recitation. Seek the essence of your traditions through the lens of love, and you shall find a depth that nourishes rather than constricts." Mary's heart swelled as she watched the exchange unfold, a battle between old identities and the invitation to new life shimmering before them. Curiosity lit the eyes of some, while shadows of doubt clung fiercely to others. What could this new understanding of love mean for their community? For their children? And then came the fleeting acknowledgement of a deep truth: the more Jesus spoke of love and transformation, the more challenging it became to remain shackled by fear. As twilight deepened, the first stars began to twinkle overhead, much like newfound hope illuminating the shadows of despair. Amidst the stillness, Mary felt the weight of the moment settle within her soul. Would the words of Jesus penetrate through their defenses, igniting their spirits toward a new horizon? Or would they cling to their traditions, risking the chance at a deeper truth? In the fragile silence surrounding them, a question formed in Mary's heart, one that resonated with the very essence of their struggle: how can we discern the voice of love amidst the clamor of tradition and fear? As the night deepened, the atmosphere became charged with tension. The air thickened with the tremors of hearts wrestling against a tide of change, yet a faint flicker of hope wove between the gathered souls. Mary looked around, noticing the diverse faces illuminated by the soft glow of the evening. Each person bore their own burdens, their histories echoing louder than the newfound words of love. A woman stepped forward, an elder with sun-kissed skin and wise eyes, her hands gnarled with age but steady in purpose. "We have long adhered to the law," she began, her voice steady yet tinged with tremors of doubt. "But if love is indeed the essence, how do we know when we are truly acting in love? How do we discern the voice of the divine? Jesus nodded thoughtfully, acknowledging her. Discernment is a journey of the heart. To recognize love is to cultivate an inner stillness where God's Spirit whispers. When you act, ask not only what fulfills your desires but what draws forth the nurturing of humanity. Let compassion guide you, but also let it be anchored in truth. Mary felt the weight of the moment instantaneously shift. It was as if the very ground beneath them pulsed with the power of potential change. Yet, doubt lingered in the corners of the anxious hearts surrounding her. A man in his prime, grappling with his faith, stepped forth, agitated. But how can we trust the inner voice? What if it leads us astray? Isn't that how the prophets fell? Ah, Jesus replied with a knowing smile, but the true voice of love never leads astray, it is our human interpretation that falters. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the assembly. Think of the times when you felt love unconditionally. Harvest those moments. Those memories are the stars that light your path. The more you nurture love within your life, the more attuned you become to its voice. A wave of murmurs rose and fell like the tide, revealing the rawness of their contemplation. Mary sensed a realization dawning among them, a gradual widening of their understanding. Yet a darker thread wove through the fabric of the crowd, a palpable fear that clung tightly like a cloak, threatening to stifle the flames of newfound insight. From the back of the crowd, someone else emerged, a young woman with fiery determination in her gaze. But what does it mean to love amidst oppression? To those of us shackled by poverty, love feels too far away, like a dream beyond reach. Can love serve as a shield against our harsh realities? Jesus' expression softened, like warm sunlight breaking through a winter's chill. Love does not erase the pain of the world, it transcends it. It compels us to take action, to stand with the oppressed, to lift the fallen, and to inject hope into despair. As he spoke, Mary felt herself leaning closer, her heart echoing his conviction. Could love, in its purest form, become a force powerful enough to challenge their realities? Each gaze exchanged in the quietness around her reflected shared burdens, yet there shimmered a possibility, the vision of a community dedicated to manifesting love. Mary longed to breathe life into this idea, to forge a path where love could envelop every broken piece of their existence. But whispers of doubt clung like cobwebs. What would happen when the intoxication of hope faded? How could they sustain such a commitment amidst the complexities of daily life? In that sacred interlude, Jesus turned his eyes to the skies where stars sparkled like promises yet unfulfilled. Love is not simply a directive, it is a togetherness. When you feel weak, lean on one another. When the path feels steep, walk hand in hand. In loving collectively, you become a source of strength that transcends the individual. As he finished speaking, a hush fell over the crowd, and Mary's heart danced around Jesus' revelation. There in that moment, the profound entanglement of vulnerability and power unraveled, beckoning them all into a deeper inquiry. What if love indeed was the answer to their struggle, yet the true challenge lay not in defining it, but in practicing it amidst their frailties and fears? Would they have the courage to transform their resistance into a commitment to love? And most hauntingly, who would they need to become to truly embody that love moving forward? As dawn crept over the horizon, casting golden rays across the land, the collective breaths of the assembly hung suspended in the air, each heart pulsating with the gravity of the previous night's exchange. The morning sun seemed to awaken something deep within Mary, a flicker of resolve sparked her thoughts. Yet, the question remained, how could they take what they had glimpsed in the darkness and bring it into the light of day? With the assembly gathered again, Jesus stood at the forefront, embodying tranquility that flowed like a river amidst turbulent waters. A gentle breeze stirred, carrying with it the whispers of nature. Sparrows flitted about, their songs harmonizing in quiet celebration of the new day. Every note seemed to beckon them to listen more closely to the divine rhythm of love they were being invited to embrace. Blessed are those who seek, he began, casting a glance towards the hills that framed their gathering, for their pursuit shall uncover. It is not enough to feel love, you must live it, give it, and allow it to become the lens through which you see the world. Your fears and grievances are not shadows to hide but burdens that mold you. Mary's eyes found the young woman from the previous night, who had inquired about love amidst oppression. She watched as determination flickered anew in the woman's gaze. Jesus nodded at her, as if sensing her quiet strength. You have felt the weight of life's challenges, haven't you? What is it that fills your heart with fire even when the world feels cold? Fear, the woman spoke, her voice steady but raw. Fear that love, no matter how genuine, is not enough to shield us from hunger, from disregard. We are weary of unfulfilled promises, then let love be your promise, Jesus replied, his voice strong and clear against the murmurs that swept through the crowd. Make it your anchor in this storm of existence. Love is not a tranquil sea, it is a tempest bearing the hope of transformation. The change lies not within the idea of love, but in its active embodiment. Mary's heart leaped in rhythm with his words. What did it mean for them to embody love? She felt the weight of that inquiry blooming like a seed planted in fertile soil. Love, it seemed, was to be a living testament, a breath in every word, an action in every choice, yet, despite the buoyancy of hope, doubt still flickered at the edges of her spirit. Others began to voice their struggles too. Murmurs of fear swept through the crowd like a gust of wind. How can we break free from the chains of mistrust? Can we truly allow ourselves to love when betrayal lurks in the shadows? Jesus paused, his eyes piercing yet compassionate, as he took in the pain surrounding him. Every act of love is an act of bravery. You embrace vulnerability when you choose to love others, even when past wounds linger. Boldness thrives in this place of openness. Allow your scars to guide your empathy rather than imprison your heart. Silence enveloped them, layered with the gravity of revelation. It was an invitation to dare to extend love despite their scars, soothing vulnerabilities while igniting strength. A tapestry of experiences unfurled within each of them, burdens were laid bare, interwoven with yearning for connection. As the sun climbed higher, casting warmth over the gathering, Mary noticed laughter bubbling among the children playing on the fringes of the assembly. The contrast struck her, a world so deeply entwined in fear yet so joyfully alive. How could love foster laughter amid struggle? She pondered, what does it take for joy to burst forth even in the presence of pain? Jesus, sensing the poignant moment, leaned into the crowd. When joy finds a home within love, it births resilience. Take with you the seeds of joy, nurture them and cultivate peace amidst adversity. Together, you have the power to overcome despair, and with that, an unspoken agreement rippled through the assembly, a pledge to strive toward intertwining love and joy, to share burdens yet also uplift spirits. They would cultivate a garden of hope in barren soils, yet deeper questions lingered. In the air, would they have the courage to face their past scars and allow love to mend what was broken? How could laughter and joy coalesce with the realities of oppression, igniting hope for tomorrow? Most pressingly, in their quest to embody love, who would they ultimately become, and what communities might they forge together in the name of that love? The sun climbed higher in the sky, illuminating the faces of those gathered with a gentle warmth that felt almost divine. Yet, amid the newfound hope, a subtle tension lingered in the air, like a string drawn tight, just waiting for a reason to break. Mary's gaze drifted from Jesus to the hills far off in the distance, where whispers of tales long told echoed in her mind, tales of prophets and of the trials they faced in their relentless pursuit of truth. As the assembly began to disperse, uniquely transformed by Jesus' words, Mary felt an inner tug pulling her back to where he stood, surrounded by a small group of seekers. They posed questions that danced on the edge of curiosity and fear. What does it mean to truly love? How might we confront the deep-seated wounds we carry? The air was electrified with possibility, yet shadowed by doubt. Love, Jesus mused, his gaze steady, is not merely a feeling, it is the very fabric of existence, a promise made with every heartbeat. You must not fear its power, nor the risks that accompany it. Light will always disrupt the dark, this is the very nature of love. You must dare to shine. But how do we shine when our spirits are burdened? Asked a man from the crowd, his brow furrowed with concern. Each of our stories is marred with pain. How can we share love when we struggle to feel it ourselves? Jesus smiled softly, the lines of his face deepening in understanding. True goodness resides not in perfection but in the acceptance of imperfection. The struggle to feel is part of the journey. Your pain does not diminish your capacity to love, rather, it enriches it. From the depths of suffering, you can forge profound connections. Your scars are not marks of shame, they are symbols of survival. Mary felt a warmth coursing through her, igniting a flicker of hope that penetrated the hollows of her uncertainties. Yet, just as warmth exists alongside the chill, so too did another thought stir within her heart, a quiet doubt gnawing at the edges of her emerging faith. Could such a profound concept truly manifest in the heart of someone so broken? As if sensing her inner turmoil, Jesus turned towards her, his eyes meeting hers, as if to say more than words could convey. Love requires practice. You may falter, but even in those moments of faltering, be kind to yourselves. Remember, each act of love, however small, radiates beyond what you can see like ripples on a still pond. Mary drew a breath, contemplating the depths of that comparison. In an age of division, where complexity ruled many relationships, how could she embrace such a simple yet profound ideal? Could she, along with her community, actually channel this love into their daily lives to effect change? What if their collective vulnerability could serve as a beacon to those who remain trapped in isolation, yearning for connection? But even as thoughts of potential blossomed, she grappled with the enormity of that choice. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows that danced upon the ground, she reflected on the richness of shared humanity, the desire to belong, to uplift, to heal. The laughter of children echoed stronger in the distance. Perhaps it was true that joy could exist hand in hand with struggle, yet, unsettling questions lingered like a bittersweet aftertaste. Could they find strength in vulnerability? Would they risk their comfort to embrace the unknown? More importantly, with their hearts open wide, what futures awaited them, and how would their stories intertwine within the greater narrative of love born from uncertainty? In that moment, transformed yet restless, Mary contemplated whether love could truly flourish in such complex soil. What might it take for their willingness to bleed through the barriers of their hearts, paving a path toward a shared destiny woven from the threads of their collective trials? As the village of Nazareth settled into the quiet embrace of dusk, the air crackled with an electric anticipation, a palpable reflection of the anxiety and hope that coursed through the hearts of its residents. The gathering around Jesus had grown, attracting people from neighboring towns, drawn by the whispers of his teachings. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and lavender, the moment felt ripe for a revelation that could alter the very fabric of their understanding. Mary stood at the periphery, her heart a tempest of emotions. It had been weeks since her son's teachings began to stir both wonder and worry in their community. Here stood a young man who claimed not only the lineage of kings but also the essence of the divine. Could he genuinely bear such burden? Could he truly be the fulfillment of prophecy? As doubts gnawed at her heart, she quietly observed the faces around her, some etched with skepticism, others alight with hope. As Jesus spoke, he weaved tales that pulled at the chords of their hearts. What if I told you that the greatest miracle lies not in healing the sick or feeding the hungry, but in transforming hearts? In awakening love that exists dormant within each of you. The crowd swelled with murmurs, individuals glancing nervously at each other, calculating their responses with hesitance. What does it mean to awaken such love? A middle-aged woman with weary eyes finally voiced. What of our pain, our histories that haunt us? Jesus smiled, the light of understanding igniting his gaze. Love is the alchemy that emerges from your suffering. It dances with your pain, creating beauty in unexpected ways. To awaken love is to confront your fears, embrace your scars, and share your stories, for they hold the seeds of compassion. It was in that moment a dawning awareness began to ripple through the crowd. People shifted uneasily, exchanging contemplative glances. And then, an unexpected voice rose from a corner of the gathering. A young man, face pale yet resolute, stepped forward and declared, "I have struggled with anger and resentment towards this world. I lost my father to despair. How can you speak of love as a remedy for such deep sorrow?" The earnest question echoed like a bell through the silence, reverberating in each of their hearts. Mary felt the collective pain and fear rise, heavy as stone. Would her son offer platitudes, or would he reveal something profound? With a calm assurance, Jesus met the young man's gaze. Love does not negate your sorrow or the heaviness of loss, rather, it invites you to transform it. It teaches us the strength in vulnerability. When you carry your hurt with love, you allow it to connect you to others who suffer. In this very connection lies healing. A silence enveloped them, a sacred pause pregnant with the potential for transformation. As Mary looked around, she saw something remarkable happen. Eyes that had once been clouded with doubt were now shining with tears of recognition. People began to breathe more deeply, as though releasing the burdens they had clung to for too long. Jesus continued, his voice steady and melodic. Every connection forged in love speaks to the essence of our creation. Love is not weak, it is the most potent force, capable of shattering walls built by despair. To love is to dare to unveil your truest self and to allow others to do the same. Suddenly, a resounding weeping broke forth from the crowd, a release of pent-up grief and yearning as hearts softened under the weight of his words. Grown men and women began to embrace one another, tears flowing freely as they found commonality in their struggles, realizing they were not alone in their suffering. Mary's heart swelled, witnessing the courage unfolding around her. Her son, once a boy lost in shadows of expectation, now shone in radiant light, an embodiment of the love he spoke of. It was then that she recognized that this moment was more than mere teaching, it was an invitation to a profound understanding of their shared humanity, and in that moment, a hush blanketed the gathering, swallowed by the revelations that had dawned within them. Today, you forge a new covenant, Jesus proclaimed, voice soaring amidst the silence. A covenant not bound by law, but grounded in love. Together, you will rise to lift one another from the trenches of despair, to cultivate joy, and to shine your lights into the darkest corners. A murmur of agreement swept through like a warm breeze, each acknowledgement a thread weaving deeper into the tapestry of their community. They were no longer merely individuals caught in their narratives of pain. They had become a collectivity, a body anchored not in laws or judgment, but in the undertaking of love. As the final rays of daylight painted the horizon with golden threads, Mary stood beside her son, a sense of peace enveloping her. In the eyes of the people, she saw the glimmers of hope transform grief into purpose. The promise of Levito risk vulnerability, to practice forgiveness, and to build bridges where once were walls released a power far beyond anything articulated in words. Standing at the precipice of dawn, they looked to each other, a shared understanding glimmering. Are we ready? The young man who had once questioned asked, vulnerability lacing his voice. The crowd collectively inhaled, and then a chorus echoed through the assembly, each person answering the question in one unified heartbeat, yes. And thus, in that sacred gathering beneath the velvet sky, the promise of love began its new form, neither an absence of darkness nor an ideal confined to stories of old, but a vibrant living thread that connected lives, weaving their pasts into a future of promise, healing, and unity. In that moment, the true miracle was born, not just of the spirits and hearts of those gathered, but within the very essence of humanity itself, a creation reborn through love, destined to shine brightly, illuminating all who would come to know its power.